All right, for this month's shorter workout of sorts, I'm gonna actually set a timer so I don't go too long for you. We are just gonna do a nice full body stretch. Sometimes we focus a lot on dynamic mobility at the warm up or the intraset mobility. We've done some foam rolling, we've done some yoga, but we haven't really just done a nice stretch, a relaxing stretch where we hold the stretches for longer, static stretching that's called, where you hold it for maybe more like 30 seconds and really just feel that elongation. That's something that can really help you get into longer ranges of motion, but it's not the best to do before a lift because it relaxes you and you actually need a lot of stability when you're lifting heavy weights. So this is best done as a cool down or as a standalone, maybe a rest day, active rest day kind of option, maybe instead of a yoga or Pilates, that kind of thing. So to get started, why don't we just kind of think of any program, and you can do this for yourself too without following along once you get the hang of it, but any program that you're doing and the different movement patterns that you do in that program and therefore the muscles you're using and what stretches might feel good. So let's say this program has squats in it, which almost every program will since it's a full body program. Something that might feel really good for getting into a better squat would be something that's a hip opener. So I would like to start with just coming into a pigeon pose. So one leg's out in front, maybe 90 degrees, but often I'm a little bit more 45. And then instead of going off to the side by that hip, I'm trying to square my hip over here. So from here, this is absolutely fine to stay upright, hands pressed into the ground. See if those shoulders are sneaking up towards the ears. Try to put them in your back pockets. And then if that feels good, you might untuck that back toe if it's not already. You might come down to your elbows. Now, if that's too much, that's okay. You can definitely stay up here. There's no need to go further, but if you would like to, you have that option. And then same thing, if that starts to feel good, I actually find this easier, but it's different by person. You might want to come hand over hand and forehead down to the ground. Now, with static stretching, I like to really connect the movement to my breath. So I'll kind of think about where I'm feeling it, which for me is really around that hip and the inner thigh and the pelvis. And I'll take a big inhale. Hold it for a few counts. And then as I exhale, I really try to connect with that area mentally and release it. And I find I get a little deeper into that stretch. And I might do that like 2 or 3 times. And then if I want to, I might explore walking the hands out. And same thing, in this new range of motion, a big inhale. A little hold at the top, and then an intentional exhale and relaxation. And then I'm just going to walk my hands up. And from there, let's take that back leg around and just kind of cross it over the front leg. Okay. So for me, that's my left leg crossed over my right, but if you're the opposite, that's fine. Either way, the opposite arm to the knee that's up, you're going to kind of hug that knee with the opposite arm. So for me, I'm hugging my left knee with my right arm. And then inhaling the opposite arm up to the sky and kind of turning and putting it behind your back and hugging the knee in to help get some leverage to twist and look back over that opposite shoulder. So again here, I'm feeling this actually not only in the opposite hip now, but also kind of in the arm that's hugging and down that side of the neck and back. So I'm going to breathe into that. Hold it for a bit, and then as I exhale, see if I can twist a little further. So now we're getting some great rotation in as well. And maybe 2 to 3 of those. And then just unwinding. I'm gonna kind of do knee on top of knee. This is called double pigeon. You can also do legs out a little more, feel that out. If you like your legs kind of parallel line, that works. I kind of like more of a 45-degree angle in, but it just depends where you want to target. And then you can kind of hold on to your feet or walk the hands out and kind of lean over and maybe walk further out. This is another one kind of like pigeon, it's double pigeon, so I would do a couple breaths upright. See how that feels. If you find you can get into a deeper motion, let your body guide you to walk the hands further out. This one can also be kind of fun to play with angles, so walking over to the left side, feeling a stretch down that opposite shoulder into the back even, and then over to the other side. No rush. And hands back to center, walking back up, couple shoulder rolls. And let's just switch sides. So now opposite direction, opposite leg is in, we're in that pigeon pose. Possibly at first, that toe is tucked under. Notice if you see any difference side to side. You also might want to have like another mat or a pillow handy. If you do have any sensitivity with, say, a knee or something, you can pad it up. Totally fine to do that. And then just like before, if that starts feeling like you can tolerate it and it feels good to do so, you can come down further. Those nice extended inhales through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. And just always check in at the shoulders. A lot of times we just kind of arbitrarily hold tension, our shoulders up by our ears, but let's let them slide down the back. Possibly walking the hands further out, hand on top of hand, forehead on hands. If you're tipping towards that hip, make sure you square the hips to get the full stretch. Possibly walking the hands all the way out if it feels good. Or staying at whatever level feels good. Remember, this is a relaxing stretch. This is meant to kind of aid in recovery. This should feel good. Never stretch to the point of pain. All right, then let's bring that back leg around again, like we did on the other side. Kind of cross over. Opposite arm hugs that leg in. Inhale, opposite arm up. Hand back behind, and then use that exhale to get the leverage to twist and look over that opposite shoulder. And again, just notice, I definitely have differences side to side here. My right side is both more hypermobile and has more pain, so I have to be careful not to go too hard here. I had a hernia repair on the right side, so I'm always a little bit more aware of that side, I'll say. After a couple deep breaths there, let's try that double pigeon. So knee kind of on top of knee, play around with that foot placement, possibly picking the hips up and setting them back down again to get centered on your sits bones. Then we can inhale, arms up. At first, just right in front of you. If that starts to feel okay, let the breath help you into a deeper stretch. And possibly trying those positions, walking the hands over to one side. Really thinking like a deep 360 breath. So breathing into your back, expanding there. And then other way. Nice. All right, from there, One thing that would have been cool to do at the top would be to try this deep squat, then do it again. But I can tell I'm in a pretty good position now after doing some of those hip stretches. So then I'm just gonna put my hands down, keep my knees with a soft bend, let my neck hang loose. And then from there, I'm gonna walk my right foot back and my left foot back, so I'm in kind of a plank position. From there, knees are gonna come down and a very slow lower all the way to the ground. And then from there, I'll untuck my toes, squeeze the glutes to protect the low back, and maybe just halfway at first. So squeeze those glutes, come back down. And you might need to do that dynamically a couple of times until you feel like your back is kind of prepared to go into the full range of motion. Ideally, in the full range of motion, you might need to kind of inch your feet up. The knees are actually off the ground, but if need be at first, it's okay if they're down. And then more than anything, look at your shoulders. Make sure you're kind of getting them down your back. Then squeeze those glutes, look over the right shoulder, do that inhale. Feel a stretch through the abdomen. Exhale, then knees down, knees wide, child's pose. Nice low back release here, kind of the opposite opposing movement to the up dog. Possibly rolling the forehead side to side. Nice little massage. And then we're going to push into the hands to kind of roll through a tabletop position. Knees come together and we're back into that up dog. Squeeze the glutes, check the shoulders, and then look over the other shoulder. Big inhale. Feel that stretch through the abdomen. And then rolling back through, we're back to child's pose, knees wide. So notice this one is a little bit more dynamic, but not as dynamic as I would do for like a warm-up or intraset mobility. Kind of a hybrid, sort of a flow. And feel free to flow with what your body wants. You can follow along, or you can pause me, or just use me to kind of like kick off, but then do what feels good from there. Your body usually knows what feels good. Then back to that up dog. Looking over the one shoulder again. Maybe even the opposite one at the same time. Kind of layering on. And then back to that child's pose. If you want to layer on here, you can walk hands over to one side. Get a good stretch, shift the hands on top of the opposite hand. Really breathe into that opposite lat and then over to the other side. This is a great neck release as well. This time as we come back up to tabletop, let's do a little cat-cow. So dropping the belly, looking up. I also like to tuck the toes for that part. And then exhale, looking between the knees. One more time, just to kind of rinse out that spine. Exhale. Very nice. From there, the toes are tucked. Let's just raise the hips up into a down dog. Get a little calf stretch here. Bending one knee. And then the other. And then, unlike the typical yoga with the flow, let's just see if we can hold this. Your heels might be elevated depending on your ankle mobility. That's okay. You can also bend the knees. But however much range of motion you have, just see if you can hold it. Again, that big 360 inhale. And as you exhale, maybe the heels get a little closer to the ground. Maybe the head comes a little further between the arms. And just do that for at least 3 breaths. Good. Then let's just step up, come all the way upright. We'll do a nice inhale overhead, down all the way to seated. And we'll just wrap up with a couple of neck stretches here. So right hand down to the ground, left hand, careful with this, not too much, maybe 2 fingers to the right temple and left ear to left shoulder. Imagine breathing in to this right neck. Then look up a little bit, repeat. Then chin down and tucked, repeat. And maybe even just a little bit of mobilizing through that range. Then chin down, opposite. So a couple fingers to the left temple, right ear to right shoulder, left hand is reaching out. Big inhale into that neck region. As you exhale, ear comes a little closer to shoulder, but don't pull too hard, maybe even just 1 finger. Looking up, same thing. Tucking the chin, looking down. And then kind of through that full range. And then let's do both hands to the back of the head, tuck the chin, push the head into the hands. And then as you exhale, really pull in and a little release side to side. And then same thing, hands in front, against the forehead, kind of push into the forehead. Good. And then just a couple little circles. We tend to get really tight in the neck, which can then really influence our shoulders and the positions and postures we hold all day. And especially if we're adding computer work, driving, phone use to that, before we know it, everything's just scrunched up and we're getting headaches and we're not sleeping well. Ask me how I know, but hopefully this was a great little reset for you, whether it's an active rest day, a cool down, or anything in between that serves you. Tune into how your body felt before, how it feels after, and keep up with that recovery just like you do with your harder pushes for your workouts. Great work.